Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. It's June 9th already. We still have pockets of extreme rain, some hot weather, and some pretty cool weather still across the nation's midsection. Well, here's weather to watch for today. On this Monday, we have a huge swirl in the upper Midwest. A lot of cumulus clouds forming on that cold air aloft, and June sun will mean you'll get unstable air, and we'll kind of focus on this area here. Here's the large frontal boundary that is still producing showers and thunderstorms in great number, and another little pocket of unsettled weather there, mostly in New Mexico, parts of Colorado as well. Here's the 500 millibar flow on top of that satellite image, and you can see that cut off low, almost cut off. Actually, it's not quite cut off. It is just big old trough of low pressure there in the central U.S. So this is actually quite a stunning feature for the early part of June, almost the middle of June now. A time of year where we could easily be seeing large ridges of high pressure begin to develop in the northern plains. So it's actually a complete opposite pattern from what is sometimes typical at this time of year. On the surface map, we have high pressure dominating the central Rockies, a series of cool fronts, one kind of reinforcing the other here, one through Missouri, the other one through Texas, and leading up to New York, Pennsylvania. That's where some severe weather is possible. So this is a pretty interesting weather map. Again, for the time of year, we don't really expect to see that many cool fronts invading the central plains, and it's going to stay that way for a few more days, but then gradually the heat begins to build back in. Here's one radar loop. We are looking at showers and thunderstorms breaking out pretty readily from Rochester and just east of there down to the heart of Pennsylvania. Another line breaking out, especially intense just to the north and east of Pittsburgh. And then we got some more thunderstorms forming there between Lansing and Detroit, Michigan. Another little hot spot is in the southeast, where we have thunderstorms pretty active now crossing the border from Georgia over into South Carolina, and some pretty good storms ready to affect the panhandle of Florida moving out of southern Mississippi. If we take a static radar picture of the northeast here, we'll see that these lines are connected with a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings, some of them being extended up to the northeast already, and a little bit of wind gust there. It looks like maybe a 60 mile per hour wind gust with that storm right there. Let's take a look at these severe weather outlooks. Well, for today, Monday, we have a level 2 out of 5 chance with that line in Michigan, and then a pretty large area of 2 out of 5. We already showed you the radars in this area and down in this area, and there is some activity in New Mexico, too. A couple of warnings out there as well. The tornado risk overall is not that large. But what does exist will be with these lines that are forming in Pennsylvania and maybe down into parts of West Virginia. And then along this line here, this is probably, now this is the map I used from the late morning. I'll bet you they probably tweaked this tornado probability a little bit to maybe include this area. That's just where the thunderstorms are now. And if you want the forecast for severe thunderstorms exclusively, I do that every single morning, and I go out 7 days or more into the future. So if you want greater detail, especially going out several days, be sure to check that out daily. Got some heavy rain possibilities here. Let's start day by day. So there are some heavy rain chances, a slight risk up there in New York and Pennsylvania where those storms are active. Same here, same here. So if it coincides with the severe weather, that's not surprising at all. On Tuesday, the greatest threat still lies through Texas. This is going to be a theme. It's Texas's turn to get wet. Oklahoma was under the gun last time. There's still a little bit, actually. You'll see in a minute. On Wednesday, this shifts a little bit farther north and a little bit farther east into Texas and parts of Oklahoma on Wednesday. On Thursday, the heavy rain risk, slight risk of it, runs from eastern Oklahoma straight down through San Antonio, Austin to the coast. And then on Friday, maybe a little bit of heavy rain in Wisconsin. But again, this bullseye of heavy rain just literally drifts eastward. And if we take a look at the quantitative precipitation forecast for the next 5 days, you can see totals here. The purple color is 1.5 inches. The red is 2. I'm sorry, the deep purple is 2. The red is 3. And then we go to 4 and even 5, maybe even more inches of rain from southern Oklahoma into Dallas and into much of central and north central portions of Texas. If we let the GFS add up the precipitation over the next 7 days, it comes up with 4 to 6 inch totals, a little bit further south down to the hill country and not quite as far north, but notice there's some more active pockets showing up here. And if you really want to go out into the future, the government issues a 8 to 14 day hazard outlook, and it actually is talking about June 16th through the 20th, a flooding area here, right in the heart of the Great Plains and parts of the Midwest. No tropical systems worth watching here over the next 7 days in the Atlantic. In the Pacific, we have two. We have Cosme and Barbara. Barbara is the weaker of the two storms. Another area of disturbed weather behind both of those. This is a tropical storm, and so it is actually the one I think that has probably the biggest chance of surviving at all. The next three on the list would be here. So if anything forms in that red area, it would be Dahlia. And then we go here. This is Cosme, Tropical Storm Cosme, that is forecast to become a hurricane briefly tonight, then a tropical storm. Then it just drifts into much colder water and becomes a tropical depression by Thursday. We can look at a loop at both of those storms here late on this Monday afternoon. Here's the southern tip of Baja. This is kind of a cool satellite. It moves with the storms. And so this time of year, you do get a lot of tropical storms out in this part of the Pacific, but normally most people don't focus on it too much because it is out in open water. It doesn't usually affect land too severely. Let's take a look at some temperatures here. High temperatures for tomorrow, Tuesday. The green-blue colors are below normal, and so it's still cool in Texas for this time of year, and the actual numbers on here are the highs for these cities. But a little bit above normal, quite a bit above normal actually, through the Pacific Northwest, with temperatures well into the 90s in interior areas of Washington and Oregon. It'll be in the 90s in South Dakota. Pure South Dakota forecasting 92 tomorrow. They cool down with another secondary front on Thursday. Still, the impacts of this rain and this upper level system can be seen just by looking at the temperatures themselves. You can see the effects of the clouds and the rain. And while the west will be above normal, it won't be as hot in the Intermountain West and in part of the Rockies. And then finally, skipping ahead to Saturday, still pretty toasty in the Central Rockies and in the Intermountain area. Cool in the coastal areas of the Pacific. Cool in the Great Lakes and in New England. And still kind of below normal for the central part of the plains and getting up into parts of the Great Lakes states. If we take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we'll look at precip 2. This is Saturday, this coming Saturday through Wednesday. It is going to reverse to a very high confidence of warm weather through Wyoming and parts of Colorado, much of the Central Rockies. The only forecast confidence of cool air would be in New England and along the coasts up in the Northwest. And then it looks like pretty high confidence of wet weather in a swath from Texas all the way up to the Atlantic seaboard, including much of the southeast, maybe the northern plains, and maybe a little bit dry out around Nevada and parts of Utah. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.